There's a few times in life when you're about to do something and there's a voice in the back of your head that's like, oh no, don't do it, no! I'm going through one of those moments right now. I am about to buy a PS Vita. Hey everybody, how's it going? It's me, portable console enthusiast Izzy Nobry. This? The Izzy Nobry Show, you know that. Okay, so here's the deal. As I mentioned in a previous video, I've always been a very big fan of the PlayStation Portable, the PSP. You don't buy two of the same console unless you're a big fan. Now, like I mentioned in my last video, back when the PSP was battling the DS, the PSP was selling actually pretty decently, but the DS was selling so much more that it made a lot of people think that the PSP was tanking. Not really the case. It actually sold a bunch of units. A lot of really decent games came out for it. It was a worthy entry into the portable space by a company that never made anything in that market. When the Vita was announced, back when we thought it was going to be called PSP 2, and they announced the project name was NGP, I think it was, Next Generation Portable, if I remember correctly. I had high hopes for it. Being a fan of the PSP, of course, buying the successor to the PSP was a foregone conclusion. 10 years I've been here. I can pronounce conclusion. What the fuck? It seemed obvious for somebody like me to buy the new PSP. However, where to even begin? Now, let's just get this out of the way. The Vita is an amazing piece of hardware. It's riding that line that divides the PS2 and the PS3 as far as graphics are concerned. It's a really powerful machine, has a lot of different inputs. You got a camera, you got a touchscreen in the front and the back, motion sensing. It's got everything, all the bells and whistles that you can. Remember, when it first came out, I'm not even sure if they still offer that model, but when it first came out, you could even put in a SIM card from like a phone carrier to game on the go on a 3G connection. That is pretty badass. There were a few problems. The third-party support was never there. In Sony, unlike what they did with the PSP, they were really pushing to get that the first-party AAA experience on the PSP. They didn't seem that interested to do that with the Vita. They were more like, no, you know what? You guys go ahead and you make the games, we'll sell the console, everybody's happy. It didn't work that way, nobody was happy. Sony didn't put the quality games that push a console out the door, and the third-party developers were waiting on Sony to do that, to kind of start doing their own thing. In parallel to that, when you have strong hardware like you have with the Vita, the cost of developing a game kind of go a little bit out of control, and the marketplace has changed. Back in the days of the Game Boy, that's what you had to play games on the go. You want to play games taking a shit? That guy right there, that's what you buy and that's it. It was that or reading the back of a shampoo bottle. Everything's different now. You have cell phones, you have tablets. Most people already have a device that allows them to play some casual games every here and there whenever they find the time to do that. It kind of discourages somebody, even somebody who's into gaming, to drop the, what is it? I think the Vita is now $200. Spending that much money just to play a game on the bus or waiting in line at whatever. What do people even wait in line for anymore? Do your shit online, man. Pay your bills online. Don't go to the bank. Who goes to the bank? You go to the bank? I never go to the bank, man. Fuck that. Look, my point is this. It is not the same as it was back when all you had was a Game Boy or a Game Gear. Well, nobody had a Game Gear. But you see what I'm saying? There's less of an incentive to spend the money on that. So it's all a perfect storm. You have a console that's a little expensive. Then you have the AAA titles that just aren't coming out the same way like they were with its predecessor. The cost of making these games is insane now. So those AAA titles are few and far between. There's a lot of decent casual games. But again, if you have a cell phone, you're already covered in that department. So what's the future of the Vita? Well, Sony kind of admitted that it doesn't have a future. It's likely their last portable gaming console, considering how poorly it's doing. I think that's I'll get it right this time, foregone conclude. It's obvious now. It's obvious now that this is the last this is the last time Sony's trying their hand in the portable market. Now, all of that being said, why am I buying a Vita? Well, for one, I have two PSPs, I have a PS3, I have a PS4. I am what you could consider a PlayStation fanboy. And I happen to find a reasonably priced PS Vita. Not gonna break the bank. I'll be able to do remote play, which is a really underrated feature. I can play my PS4 games while I'm in bed, while my wife is watching something on TV. It's actually pretty neat. With PS Plus, there's a lot of indie games that you can get quote unquote for free. So even if they discontinue the Vita like tomorrow, having one, if you can find one for a decent price and you've always supported a Sony consoles and you want to have them to like put it on a display like what I do here, like I have my PSPs here, adding a Vita to that collection. I found a seller online that's parting with their Vita for $100. I'm like, $100 puts it at that price range where I'm like, it's the f it price range, you know what I mean? Like, f it, I'll buy it. But I do it knowing full well that this is gonna be probably my shortest lived console ever. Like, I'm buying this fully expecting like next month, Sony's gonna finally admit the failure and it's gonna be like, listen guys, it's over. Alright, it's over, we're packing it in. Thanks for all the money, but the Vita's dead. It's a risk I'm willing to take. What about you? What do you think about the Vita? And trust me, I've been looking for so many reasons to buy this thing. I've come this close to buying it at the store for full retail price, and then I look at the list of games and I'm like, oh man, like the PSP had 3 GTAs, dude. It had like 6 Metal Gears. It had 2 Metal Gear Solids, one of which is considered one of the best in the franchise. It had like, holy shit, it had 3 Prince of Persia. It had so many AAA titles that 2 God of Wars, dude. 2 God of Wars. The Vita has nothing that compares to that when you look at the library, but again, $100. But I want to know what you think. Comments down below, you know what to do. Now, before I finish this video, I really have to do something I've never done here before, which is to give a shout out to 2 individuals, 2 people that I admire a great deal here on YouTube, content creators like myself that kind of inspire me to come back to making videos today. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know this. I know there's a good chunk of you guys who are members of my Brazilian viewership who happen to want to see what I'm doing here on this other side in another language. But if you don't know, I make videos in Portuguese as well. I've been doing that for many years, and I have a sizable audience. And these people they've always been great to me. And when I started making videos in English, some of those people came to kind of like take a look and see what I'm doing. But it's really hard to go from like having a channel where you're heard by so many people and you know that you can inspire debate and have a lot of people reaching out to you and everything, and not only that, but that other channel pays your bills, and then you have to like, okay, I'm gonna just close this for a moment here. Let's go over here where I have a lot fewer people listening to me, where I'm doing this for free because I don't monetize this channel. It's hard to find the motivation to do that. The reason I do that is because I love making videos, I love making content, I love communicating. But like I said, it's hard sometimes. Sometimes there's that feeling of like, why bother? Why do this when this is just better for me in the long run, both in like audience-wise, the reach that I have, and the money, the financial gain that I get from that. But I was having a conversation with these 2 people, and I realize now that I haven't mentioned who they are. MrRepzion and Barnacles Nerdgasm. Now, it's very likely, if you are into the content that I make here, you might already know who they are. MrRepzion is a YouTuber that talks a lot about video games, and as you can clearly see, it's kind of my cup of tea. Now, he talks about a lot of other stuff too, but because I met him, so to speak, through his views on video games, that's what I think first when I think of his channel. Now, Barnacles Nerdgasm is basically he's living the nerd dream, I would say. I mean, look at this room. This is his room. He talks a lot about tech, a lot about 3D printing. I really enjoy following both of these guys on Twitter, and so today I was talking to these 2 guys, and they gave me a lot of very interesting insight on creating content for YouTube. As a small guy here, I really appreciated the fact that these guys, who have a much larger viewership than myself, kind of took the time to talk to me and kind of offer me their thoughts on content creating as a whole. I really appreciated that, and they kind of motivated me to come back to do this, to do what I enjoy. I guess sometimes you just need that extra push. So Barnacles and MrRepzion, Daniel, thank you so much. And I think that covers everything. I gotta go meet the guy to buy the PS Vita. Am I gonna regret this? Nah, Look, if there's one game that if it came out for the Vita, or if there's any kind of like trickery that I can do to play it on the Vita, would make all of this worthwhile, but I don't think it's possible. Shadow of the Colossus. You tell me I can play Shadow of the Colossus on the Vita? That's a game changer. I'm buying that. I mean, I'm buying it anyway, but you know what I mean.